Hello, and welcome to our School at Home class in English Grade 7. We are in the second quarter of our set of lessons, and I hope everybody will delight in learning today with lesson number 10, using the rising intonation pattern with yes, no, and tag questions. This is your self-instructional video lesson in English Grade 7. All the activities provided in this lesson will help you learn and understand how to use the rising intonation pattern with yes, no, and tag questions. For a start, do the following exercise. You can pause this video if you will need more time. Press play again when you're finished with the activity and when you're ready to proceed with the lesson. Identify what is being described or asked in each item. Write the answer on a sheet of paper. Number 1. Blank is about how we say things rather than what we say. A. Pitch. B. Volume. C. Intonation. Number 2. WH questions have blank volume of intonation. A. Falling. B. Rising. C. Falling, rising. Number 3. When do we use the rising intonation? A. When giving information. B. In asking yes-no questions. C. Information you are certain about. Number 4. Use the correct intonation. Is that your final answer? A. Falling. B. Rising. C. Falling and rising. Number 5. This phone is a Filipino product, isn't it? A. Rising. B. Falling. C. Falling and rising. Here are the answers. As a review of the previous lesson, respond to the following questions. Write your responses in your notebook. What is summarizing? What summarizing strategies do you know? Describe how each is done. Why is summarizing a helpful comprehension skill? We have learned that the ability to communicate and the ability to be understood are the most important parts of learning a new language. Thus, learning intonation is a huge part of a natural communication. The way we use pitch, stress, and emphasis on specific words can completely change the meaning of a sentence. Intonation is the natural music of English. If you make intonation mistakes, it's like playing in an orchestra with an instrument that's out of tune. You'll sound strange even if you have a good grammar and vocabulary. Worse, you might communicate a wrong message or not be understood at all. Intonation is that important. The English language, like any other languages in the world, is dynamic and alive. The words we use when we speak this language, and when properly used, will serve us well as we communicate with others. Today, let us talk about using the rising intonation pattern with yes, no, and tag questions. What is intonation used for? Intonation is a layer of meaning beyond words and helps speakers communicate meaning through the rise and fall of the voice. The patterns of rise and fall are described as tones. But why and when do we use the rising intonation? We use the rising intonation on yes-no questions. Yes-no questions are questions we can answer with a simple yes or no. We use the rising intonation on a statement in order to signal that we're asking the statement as a question. We use the rising intonation when we like to check or confirm something. We use the rising intonation to signal uncertainty or doubt. Rising intonation in English is a pretty complicated phenomenon. It can express a number of various emotions such as non-finality, surprise, doubt, politeness, interest, and lack of confidence. Standard rising intonation in English first goes down a little and then up. Yes-no questions are those whose answers can be a yes or a no. They tend to end in a rising pitch pattern. This is opposite of the pattern for WH questions, whose pitch boundaries normally fall. The change in pitch usually begins on the pitch word of the question, then continues through the end of the sentence. Pitch words are also often the final content word and the word of the sentence that receives the most emphasis. Yes-no questions are questions that you can answer with yes or no. They often begin with a verb like do, be, have, will, would, can, or could. For example, will I be involved? Can they finish the project on time? Is English important or urgent? Is there a secret? Do you have an idea for a solution? Tag questions are something like negative questions. They are used when someone thinks he or she knows an answer and wants confirmation. There are two very commonly used types of tag questions. One made from affirmative sentences, the other made from negative sentences. For example, he's from Italy, isn't he? It's a negative tag question. He isn't from Italy, is he? Affirmative tag question. Let's do a practice exercise. In your notebook, write yes if the sentence uses the rising intonation, and write no if not. It is difficult to get up early, isn't it? Did you have fun yesterday at the theme park? You weren't stressed with your exams, were you? Is it easier to learn online? You miss your teachers and classmates, don't you? All have yes for the answer because they are yes, no, and tag questions. Let's have another activity. Transform the following sentences into yes-no question. Number 1. They are Filipinos. Number 2. She is nice. Now, write the correct tag question for each of the following. Number 1. You know the answer. Blank you. Number 2. It's time to go. blank it. Here are the answers. Number 1, are they Filipinos? Number 2, is she nice? For the tag questions, the following are the answers. You know the answer, don't you? It's time to go, isn't it? The following are more exercises to help you understand the lesson better. Activity 1. Transform the following sentences into a yes-no question. Number 1. They are visiting Paris. Number 2. She has done the housework. Number 3. Nancy has been working all night long. Number 4. He will be reading the book. Number 5. She wastes her money on jewelry. Activity 2. Supply the correct question tag on each of the tag questions with rising intonation. Number 1. You couldn't lend the amount, blank you. Number 2. You don't know if Peter is here, blank you. Number 3. They're going to get married, blank they. Number 4. She's from Canada, blank she. And number 5. We don't have to go now, blank we. To wrap everything up that has been discussed in this video lesson, remember that the rising intonation is used when our pitch rises from the stressed syllable of the last content word of the sentence and continues to climb. Yes-no questions are those whose answers can be a yes or no, and they tend to end in a rising pitch pattern. This is opposite of the pattern for WH questions, whose pitch boundaries normally fall. Tag questions are statements that end with a short question. The short question at the end can either have the rising or falling pitch, and this can affect the meaning of the tag question. Let's see how much you understand our lesson today by doing this quiz. Tell whether the statement given is true or false. Write your answer on a sheet of paper. Number 1. Statements are normally said with falling intonation. Number 2. Intonation is about how we say things rather than what we say. Number 3. She won't believe this story, wouldn't she? Is asked with the falling intonation. Number 4. Yes-no questions and tag questions use the rising intonation. And number 5. Questions are normally said with the rising intonation. Here are the answers again. Let us cap this episode of our video lesson with this quotation. To love rightly is to love what is orderly and beautiful in an educated and disciplined way. Write a very simple paraphrase of this beautiful insight from Plato in your notebook. Share it with your loved ones at home. Goodbye and see you in the next lesson.